Hey friends, how are you? I am Ritika. Once again came up with another new episode of my new online game Truth, Dare or Situation. If I am gonna ask to you, what will you choose? The unique thing about this game, you have to face the camera. In front of the camera, I can ask any revealing truth about your life. In front of the camera, you have to show your dare, and I can put you in any complicated situation in front of the camera. So, if you are interested to join me on this game, you can directly message me on my Facebook page, Ritika Mishra Podcast, or on my Instagram account, Rocking Ritika 5594. ROCKINGRITIKA 5594. You can email me on my mail ID Ritika Mishra 5594 @gmail.com. RITIKA 5594 @gmail.com, or you can send me voice message on my anchor profile, which is anchor.fm/Ritika Mishra 6, which is full of beautiful random feelings of Indian peoples poetry in Hindi language. So you can listen my Hindi poetry on that podcast and also share your feedback and share your voice message. I am loving it to having it. So before without any delay, I am just directly connected to today's participant. Okay, so here is with us Dean from US. So hi Dean, how are you?
From UK actually, but yes, I'm grand. Thanks. I'm grand.
How is you feeling?
I don't know. I don't know what really to expect. So this should be fun. We'll see how it goes. And how are you? It's afternoon for yourself, right?
Yeah, I am also good. Yes, there is afternoon. It's a 3 p.m. of afternoon.
I'm just awake, on a lazy Sunday. So I need my
Same here.
I need my cup of tea to wake me up here.
Same here. I'm also just resting. And okay, so before we gonna start, I want to tell you the basic rule of this game.
Cool.
There is 10 questions I am going to ask you. It is a quite mix up of truth, dare, or situation, whatever you like to choose. And second one is like a disclaimer, because this is not a personal game. I don't want to hurt any emotions and feeling of anyone. So this is the purpose of game is entertainment only. So these
Sounds
two
good.
are the game. So what will you choose?
I think we'll go with truth.
Okay. Don't want to show dare or some situation.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we can have maybe a little, but I think for the main I'll go truth. Now my friend Little Alfred here, he's up for any kind of dare. He's a bit crazier than I am, but I'll go just truth. I think for now.
Will you choose a truth, dare, or situation, or mix up of all these three?
Give me a mix. Give me a mix.
Okay, so my very first question to you, it is based on a situation. So, what would you name your boat if you have one?
Ooh, if I had my own book, what would I name it? Can I cheat? And because we're gonna have a book soon. So my co-host PJ, he has he's releasing a novel, and I've done some illustrations. That's his though. That's not mine. But what we're doing is a poetry and paintings book. So I did a lot. I'm an artist and I do a lot of painting, and he's a poet. So we did some poems and paintings that would go together, and we're going to try to get that book released. And we haven't really come up with a title. I was just going to call it Poems and Paintings, unless we can come up with something better. He wanted to call it from Lisburn to Padalavaca, which is the town he lives in Gran Canaria. But I don't know. I thought just Poems and Paintings was fine. If I wrote a novel, I don't know. I think I would make a character like a silly name, like a Dickens type name, like Nicholas Nickleby or David Copperfield. It would be, the life and times of whatever name I came up with.
Okay, so my second one question is quite interesting. This one. So, are you ready for that?
Okay, let's have it.
So, what is the most useless talent you have?
Most useless talent I have. You see, it's tempting to say that I don't have any talents. I think the most useless talent I have is songwriting. Because I really like to write songs and I like to write very poetic. So everything I do needs to have some romance or poetry, whether it's art, music, whatever. The problem I have is I don't know anyone who would make the songs for me. And when I make them myself, they're not very good. So I've got you can listen to my music on Spotify, but unfortunately, like it's not really that great. And I like the lyrics, but I would love to find a producer or a band who would make like really professional versions of the songs. So I'm writing songs, but I'm not doing much with them.
Okay, so you think this is the useless talent? I think this is the most creative talent you have.
Well, it's creative, but it's useless because it's not doing anything for me. It's not making me any money. No one's listening to the music. Okay, don't get me wrong. There's a few songs that I like. I released like the 12 that I liked, but there's a lot of garbage in there as well. Because I can't play the damn instruments. Like that's the problem.
Okay. So I saw one teddy near you. So is this your?
This is Alfred. This is little Alfred. He's our little friend, our mascot on our. He pops up on our Instagram sometimes. So yeah.
Actually, I also have one.
Oh, does it have a name?
Jodha.
Jodha, very good. Did you notice as well? I'm wearing my Books Boys merchandise. Yeah, prepared.
Yes. They also this DP shown in Instagram profile also. I only know this is the D. I only.
I wasn't sure today whether to sit on this nice chair with the flowers or whether to sit on my nice. I've got like a nice pink chaise longue, like a long chair, very Parisian. I didn't know which one to choose, but I chose this one because I can sit upright.
Okay, this looks like a very beautiful chair, like a throne, princess throne. So, third one question is. What is the best and worst purchase you have ever made?
Best and worst purchase. I can tell you the worst straight away. It was a car. It was a Jaguar XF. So I had this idea many years ago. I really wanted like a really retro kind of car, and I described it to someone, and I said, what I want is it should be sky blue with cream interior and wooden dashboard with a hood ornament, like really kind of old fashioned. And I said, but I don't know what that is. I don't know cars. And he said, well, that's a Jag. I can tell you that that's what you need. So I went down to the showroom and I said, here's what I want. And he was like, well, yeah, we got one of those. So I took it and it was secondhand and that was fine, but I had to lease it. So it was a monthly payment. And my God, the monthly payment was like £450. Like it was an insane amount to be paying every month. And I was like 22 at the time. Like it was just crazy. And the damn thing didn't work properly because it kept getting restricted. It wouldn't go over 30 miles an hour. And I had it in 8 times to the mechanic, and they couldn't fix it. And in the end, they had to give me a refund for it. And I was really disappointed because it was my dream car. And they said, look, we might be able to fix it, but it would cost a lot of hours and a lot of money because we don't know what's wrong with it. We'd have to rip the whole car apart. And quite frankly, we can't be bothered. And I said, well, if you can't be bothered to fix it, I can't be bothered to pay for it anymore. So I'm going to give it back and I want a refund for the, 3 or 4 months that I've had it. So I got to drive a really fancy, really lovely car and I didn't get to pay anything in the end. But it was a complete waste of time and a lot of hassle.
Quite interesting. So
as for the best purchase, the best purchase. So I can't pick another car. I got to be more creative than that. Like I expect better of myself, I guess my house, to be honest. Like that's not a very fun answer, but I went to view like 24 houses and I found a really pretty one that I really liked. And, it met all the specifications. It had a front garden, a back garden, a separate bath and shower, a nice old-fashioned fireplace with these beautiful fairies, these like green dressed, blonde-haired fairy girls on the tiles, really, really retro, and lots of just lovely things. And I thought, yeah, like this is exactly what I'm looking for. So I guess the house is the best purchase. But I thought I was going to say something more fun than that, No, I got nothing fun. I'm disappointed. Alfred's disappointed in me,
Yeah. So Alfred is gifted by someone or you
Oh,
purchase?
so Alfred, I stole him. I kidnapped him. I bear napped him. Um, I rented a house, many years ago. I rented a room in a house, when I was younger, and I just rented one room, and they found Alfred. So actually, I've got two. I've stolen two. I've also got one of the meerkats from the car
Oh,
insurance, Vasily. So both of them were just in houses that I rented, and they were there when I moved in, and they were not there when I left because I took them with me.
I think this is the interesting one.
And yeah, but they weren't purchases, but they were. I've got to put Vasily back because he's. There we go. They weren't purchases, but they were just things that I took. Because this guy just sits on the chair when I'm not here, keeps it warm for me.
Okay, so fourth question is, if you had to change your name, what would you select your new name, and why would you choose the new name?
Thaddeus is taken. I think Socrates. I think I'll go Socrates because he's like the greatest person to ever live. So that would be an amazing, person to be named after. The father of philosophy, not necessarily the father of knowledge, but the father of a love of knowledge, of a quest for knowledge. And just kind of a pretty cool chap if Plato's writings are anything to go by. Yeah, I think Socrates.
Yeah, that's nice, and nice reason behind it. I
Yeah,
like that.
I'm a Socrates fanboy. What can I say?
So fifth one is, what is the most interesting thing you have read or seen this week?
This week, well, I can say the most interesting thing I've read because I'm reading a book called The Woman at the Gates, for the next episode of the podcast, and we're going to interview the author, and it's I normally don't like war things, but I thought it looks like an interesting book. I'm going to read it, and I'm really really loving it. It is a World War II era novel set in Ukraine, and it's some Ukrainian sort of resistance movement. They want independence for their country, but they've got to deal with factions within their own country fighting them, as well as the Soviets fighting them, as well as the Nazis. So there's some great tales of sadness in there, and there is a suspense, running through the whole novel. And I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm probably going to finish it maybe today or tomorrow, but I'm really enjoying it. So I think that's the most interesting thing I've read. Now, the most interesting thing I've seen, I can't think of anything else, to be honest with you now.
So, what kind of novel actually you love? Romantic, horror?
Yeah, so horror's fine for a movie, and yeah, look, horror novels are fine. Maybe an old gothic novel or something like that. I love Dracula, Frankenstein's okay, but it's got to be. I think I want to say I'm hesitant to say romance because I'm not going to read modern romance too much. I'm not going to read Twilight or something. I mean, we do a segment on our show, Guilty Pleasure Books, and I review, but not romances, but thrillers, and usually have a romantic twist with a lot of modern authors, and I do like those. But the kind of book that I love, that I really get excited for, is Victorian era books. 1900s. Actually, I can overlap it, late 1800s right through into the kind of first half of the 1900s. Your Victorian, your Dickens, your Brontes, Wilkie Collins, all this literary fiction, this really classic fiction, because they're set in England that I love. Some of them are set in very rural England, very sleepy England. I want to live in a world that's less busy and fewer cities and a simpler world, and I think that they give me the world that I want. But my absolute favorite is Dickens. His depictions of London. Yeah, we're out of the rural setting, we're into the city, and it's a busy city for its time. But the way he depicts London, and with all the different characters, so it's those kind of long books with great characters, and maybe there's some romance thrown into some of them, but the older writing style and the language and things like that, I really love. I think we don't really write like that anymore.
Okay. So next one is, I give you a dare. So choose a random thing available in your room and made a story and tell us.
Okay. Well, I was going to use Alfred, but I've already talked about Alfred. Oh goodness, I've backed myself into a corner. Okay, I'll bring my little ballerina. 1 second.
Yeah.
So I have this. I like girly things. So I've got this. I don't know if you can see it now. It's a music box.
Yo.
And it's got little ballerinas
so
on it. Yeah, I did a little painting of that actually recently. And then when you pop it open, I mean, you've got a little ballerina, and you can twist the back, and it does annoying music, which is great. And I mean, I don't have rings or necklaces or anything, but I've got some cufflinks and a pocket watch in here. But if I could make up a story about the little ballerina, I like to think that she was, a pretty dancing ballerina, dance, like the song, Nat King Cole, I think. And she's been turned to plastic. She's trapped forever to spend the rest of her days, just dancing to the same, 10 seconds of music on a little music box. And it's quite sad. And she longs for her freedom as I shut her away to see the light no more.
cute. So is this gifted by someone? Or
No, I
is this
actually bought it
yours?
as a gift for someone and then fell out with them, and I just kind of kept it then.
Okay, nice story. So next one is, if you were a food, what food would you be?
I would be. I think.
Like a salty, sweet.
I want to, because
Kind
if we base it on my personality, I'm not really that sweet. I'm quite dry and jaded and bitter. So maybe I would be something quite bitter and unpleasant, But I don't want to be that, because I don't like bitter tasting foods. I want to be something fun. I was thinking, along the lines of some Spanish foods and some tapas, and maybe I'd like to be chorizo or there's this really nice dish called huevos estrellados, and it's kind of like a tortilla, but it's tall, and you've got runny eggs in it and potato, and you can put some meat in, and it's just the nicest thing. And I would get it in Galicia sometimes, and I would like to be that, but I don't think that fits my personality. I think if we base it on my personality, I'm a quite dry, bitter, kind of drink. I guess, yeah. Maybe I'll just be a cup of tea, because I'd take like 12 of those a day. That's a very kind of British or Irish trait to have,
If I have a chance to give a name to you, I give a name of food. This is Golgappa in India. It is a little bit salty and little bit sweet. So I think Golgappa is really suits on you. Have you ever tasted?
I have no. I've never heard of it actually. So what is it?
Actually, it is there is a water which contains some kind of ingredients, little bit salty and little bit sweet ingredients it have, and there is one Golgappa only. It's like a puri. I can not explain you in words, but
Okay.
in fact, yeah. Have you ever come India? Then definitely taste this dish, because this is very popular dish in India. Golgappa. It is basically used for snacks. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, I have a friend from India, so I'll ask him next time I see him.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. So next one is, if you have to give a book title to your life, what it would be?
You asked if I could write my own book, but if I had to give a book title to my life as it stands, what would it be? I think I quite like jaded. I think jaded is a very good word, just to describe my general attitude towards most things. Just this slightly standoffish, slightly bitter kind of I'm not gonna like this. Everything's gonna be garbage kind of approach. So I think I'll go with jaded. But yet I have positivity about my projects. I love my podcast and my things. But about everything
Yeah,
else, I'm jaded.
yeah. Some of episode I also listen. It is very good podcast. You and your co-host are doing very good, and I
Thanks.
love your coordination as well because you both guys are living different places and coordinate very well. This thing
Yeah,
I love the
we
most.
have good chemistry, but I've known PJ 11 years now, and we're great friends, so we do have good chemistry. And he's the only friend I have where I could not see him for a year, but then as soon as I see him, it feels like we just continue like as normal. It's not a bit strange. We just pick up as though we'd seen each other yesterday. He's a great fellow. I really want to see him in person. I haven't seen him since before COVID, a couple of months before COVID started around Christmas, and I need to get over and see him in Gran Canaria at some point if I can get. But the travel restrictions are a problem.
Okay. So next question is, what is your biggest regret in life?
Oh, nothing. I don't have regrets. I don't believe in it. Because so having a regret isn't helpful. And yeah, I could look back and I could say, well, maybe if I'd done this differently, I mean, for example, one guy swindled me. I don't want to tell the story, but swindled me for like a few £1,000s. There's definitely things I could look back on and think, well, I could have done that differently. I could have done that better relationships with other people, better things for money, better whatever. Not losing friends and things, but no, there's no point because you just what happened for a reason. It may not have always been a good reason, but you take it and you move forward. And the slightest change might have made me worse than I am now. The butterfly effect and all that. So I don't regret anything. I think it's not helpful. I look to the past with positivity and with nostalgia, and I try to move forward. And actually, I try to make the future more like the past. So that's almost the opposite of regretting.
Yeah, definitely. Regretting is nothing. Just a wasting of time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask one truth about you. So are you ready?
Let's have it.
Do you have a crazy one night stand?
Yes, quite a few, but let me see if I can think of a good one. A crazy one night stand story. One that's a bit interesting and not just not just sort of by the numbers. Yes, I have one actually. I'm going to tell one that technically it wasn't a one night stand because it didn't go anywhere, but I'm going to tell it because I think it's a funnier story. So I once went out when I was much younger in my student days, and I went out alone because my friend cancelled, and I said, well, I've already made the plan to go out. I've got nothing else to do. I'm going to go out to a nightclub, and I got very, very drunk. And then I went to some bar, and I don't know what bar it was because I was too drunk to know where I was, but I went to some other bar, and I got chatting to these two sisters, and somehow I convinced both of the sisters to come home with me. So we got into a taxi, and I was chatting to the girl in the back of the taxi, and the sister was in the front chatting to the taxi driver. So we get to my house, and the taxi driver's coming in as well. So he's thinking, if you're taking one of the sisters, I'm going to take the other one, and he's just coming into my house, and I'm thinking, well, I mean, I'm paying you for the taxi. If you're gonna get some action here, I feel like that taxi should have been free. But whatever. But then I was so drunk I couldn't remember which sister was which. So I end up in my room with the wrong sister, and I'm starting to like take off my t-shirt and stuff. And then the other girl comes in, and the two sisters have a big fight. One of them leaves with the taxi driver, and the other one just sits and phones another taxi and waits for another taxi to come. And I didn't get anywhere with any of them, because I was too drunk to remember which was which.
Quite interesting this one. So you have so many one night stand, or this is only one?
I mean, now I have a lot more, but that's the only one I'm going to tell for now. But yeah, no. I mean, because when I was a student, I would go out clubbing a lot, so you would just bump into girls, every week. But I don't really drink it much anymore, and certainly for the last 3 or 4 years, I haven't had any one night stands.
Okay, so this one is additional question to you. If you have the power to correct one problem in the world, what it would be?
To correct one problem. I would there's so many. I could stop capitalism, I could stop overpopulation, but those things sound mean. I think I would halt and reverse the spread of technology. I think that we need less technology. I have to take my hand up as a Brit and say that we messed up by having the Industrial Revolution, but what's done is done. But I think we need to stop this all this digital technology. I think it's a big mistake. I grew up in the 90s in a very simple world, and now I go around and I see a very complicated world. Everything's very fast paced. No one has time to do anything. Oh, we don't even have time to watch a 10-minute YouTube video. We've got to watch a 15-second TikTok. I don't know what's happening to our attention span. This was predicted in Fahrenheit 451. I don't know what's happening with our pop culture. Everything's very strange. The addiction to social media is really bad, and the jealousy towards other people's lifestyles. The fact that you can't do anything without your smartphone. The fact that I'm paying for things with my phone instead of using not even a card, but instead of using cash. I want to use cash more. I think I just want to go back to the 90s before the big boom of the internet that kind of happened, during my lifetime. I think I grew up in a much simpler world, and I would like to go back to that.
Yeah, this is there is major disadvantage of technologies. I also write one poem. It's a Hindi language. So do you understand little bit Hindi?
I could lie and say that I do, but unfortunately no, I don't understand any Hindi.
Yeah, but I write in Hindi language. It's a 90s kid. How is the exactly 90s kid in India? I like that poem.
Do you have you haven't done like an English version or translation?
I did not do any English version, but I can. Many of my friends in Facebook are outside of India, so they did not able to understand the Hindi language. Whenever they listen my podcast and ask about what is the really meaning of my poems, so I try to summarize the whole poetry in English language so they can understand. I also recently I tried to write in English also, so because English is global language, so many people understand. So I tried to write English poetry also, but it's just a beginning.
Are you going to read us a poem? Is that what's going to happen?
Sorry?
Are you going to read a poem? Is that what is going to happen?
No, I don't remember.
Ah.
I don't remember actually. I just remember a few lines because I write in a paper and just record and just put backside of my bed. There is my all poetry.
Oh wow! Okay, you've got rather a lot.
Yeah, I have two. So I just write and just put it here. But I have very poor memory, so I cannot remember all the stories and poetry. I just remember a few lines of my poetry and stories. So so I just leave them on their condition.
Shall I? I've not really written poetry. That's PJ's job, but I do like to write very poetic song lyrics. I can read you a stanza of a song lyric. It's a lot of 80s drivel, It's but I like it. So let me see where's the best place to start. The spectre of love glides effortlessly across the sand. The shadows of emotion glimmer in the moonlight. Love, leading pain, guides him by the hand to the sea of my soul in the dead of the night. The ghost of past love wears the cloak of desire, creeping up unseen, unwanted, stabs me with a knife that sets my soul on fire. Black flows the blood, too inhuman to be red. So a lot of personification of emotions and a lot of 80s drivel about, shadows and glimmering. I love it.
Yeah, I also love it. It's a beautiful. You have to try. Don't stop your writing. It's a very beautiful poem.
Yeah, but it's also my useless talent, because I never do anything with it.
Okay, so last one is like a rapid fire. So if you have to choose among shark diving, bungee jumping, or skydiving, what will you choose?
I'm gonna give a no to the shark. I don't think I want to see the shark. I'm gonna go skydiving. But it's tricky because I did sign up to do skydiving once, and then I got scared and didn't do it. Um, I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I'd rather just read a good book. But if I had to do one of those three things, bungee jumping, I worry about that snap back. Maybe just do skydiving with an instructor, and yeah, I think that one. But I'd be very
Okay,
scared. I would scream and cry, and well, I wouldn't cry, but I'd be very scared.
yeah. So do you believe in ghost?
In ghosts, no. I definitely don't believe in ghosts. Oh, about the bungee jumping though, I always have a saying. I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of depths. Because heights are up above. I don't mind looking up. It's looking down that I don't like. It's the depth. But no,
Yeah.
no, I don't believe in ghosts.
Okay. So your most experienced emotion?
Most experienced emotion. Um, Other than the hunger and the thirst for a good cup of tea, I think maybe just a kind of medium, kind of a neutral emotion, a kind of ambivalence, like whatever's happening is happening. I'm not that bothered. A bit too jaded to show any positivity. I think that what my least favorite emotion is positivity. You ever go to a workplace and there's that one person who's like super bubbly and they just love it and they're telling you how great it is all the time. Oh my god, I want to hit that person. Go away. Like, I can't be doing with that. You're not supposed to like it here. No, I can't stand that.
Okay, so generally people mostly feel the emotion is love. So do you ever feel this kind of emotion, love, anger,
Of
or
course, I
jealousy?
feel. No, I'm not a jealous person. I don't feel jealousy, and I never feel anger. I go to like a bitter jadedness, but that's as far as I go, and I go to ambivalence. But I don't feel anger ever, and I don't feel jealousy ever. Um, but yeah, like love, of course, I feel love all the time. Um, and I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, I get this overwhelming because I want to live in this romantic, quixotic dreamscape. I want to live in a Renoir painting. And sometimes the ideas of love from books and paintings and songs, just listening to music and TV, whatever it is, movies, the ideas of romance and love. I'm a very romantic person. So those ideas hit me very strong. And and then sometimes I will just weep, thinking of the world that we're in and why it's not the world that I want it to be, and where's the romance, and sometimes the emotions will hit me very strong. So yeah, I feel love. I'm all about love.
Okay. So next question is tell us about your podcast name, about your co-host,
Oh,
and
good. So
what
we have the Books Boys. I mean, the writing is going to be backwards on the camera, so there's no point in turning around the back to show you that it says the website name. But you can go to booksboys.com. So what we do is myself and PJ, it's a monthly podcast, and we just talk about books. So we talk about the books that we've been reading each month. And then we also have authors call in and we interview them about their works, surprise call-ins sometimes. So that's fun. So we talk about books once a month, but we also do bonus episodes. So the way to do it is if you go to booksboys.com, you can find all the links. So if you want to listen on Apple, Spotify, wherever it is, all the links are on there. And there's also a link to our bonus. So we do the free podcast and then we do bonus, premium that you got to pay for on Patreon. But we on those we talk about Shakespeare, we talk about Agatha Christie, there's movies, there's a whole lot of stuff. But I always just tell people rather than saying, oh, you go to here and there, just go to booksboys.com and then all the links are everywhere.
so how did you get that idea of your podcast?
Well, because we were doing it anyway. Me and PJ, well, PJ and I, we were talking about books anyway, and he was giving me some recommendations, and I was telling him about the books that I'd read, and I always read a lot. And, we were having like hour-long conversations on Skype about books. And eventually we said, like, well, if we're going to do this, and I had done a podcast years ago, 12 years ago, I started.
Oh my God.
Would it be 12? No, wait a minute. 13 years ago, I started a podcast, and then I stopped it 8 years ago, and then I didn't do any podcasting for a long time. And PJ was dabbling in doing some stuff on YouTube and some podcast type pieces on YouTube. And eventually I was thinking maybe I'll try to do something again. So we were just talking about books a lot. And I said, look, why is this not our podcast? Because we're doing this, we're phoning each other for like an hour, we're chatting about books, and this is something we both care about and we both know about. Like, this should be our podcast. So I had the knowledge from doing it before. So I just put a lot of things in place. There's a lot of work. And then we started the podcast. I've had to modernize though, because it turns out that, my knowledge was 12 years old. And even then I took it from people who had been doing podcasts for a couple of years. So podcasts really started around 2005. And I think the way I was doing it was like a really early way. And it turns out that nowadays there's much simpler ways to do things, So where I was using like 4 different websites that were all connected together and passing information from one to the next, there's just like one thing you can use now, And there's plenty of companies that just do like podcasting services for free, And there's like millions of them. But I was doing this really old-fashioned stuff that was like really complicated and adding a lot of work and a lot of time. And we did that for 6 months, and then eventually I said, okay, I've got to like modernize. I don't like to change things, but I got to modernize, because the thing I'm using is like closing down, because like I'm the only person still using it, and I don't know. So I had to just change and modernize. I was using like 15 years old, methods.
Okay, so my last question to you: tell us about yourself and about your city and your country.
Okay. About myself is easy, because I've hinted at it before. But I do the podcast, I paint, and I love to do romantic paintings. I do a lot of nudes. I go to life drawing classes with live models. And I like to draw those. But I don't just like to draw, so maybe a girl or sometimes a guy, they come to the class and we draw them. But I don't just like to leave it there. I like to paint it afterwards, take it home and paint it. But I put them in a scene. So it's not good enough to just be posing in an art class. I then have to say, well, actually, you're outside somewhere, or you're in a shop window, or you're on display, or maybe you're in a forest, maybe you're in a bedroom with the windows open. I don't know. I somehow put some exhibitionism into my paintings, but I like to have some voyeurism. But I like to have the nude in an unusual setting, I think. And I do some landscapes as well. Like, no, not every painting is a naked person. But I like the painting to always say something poetic, So I recently did 2 nice girls in nice dresses sitting having a picnic with a candlestick and little teacups, outside. And then there's some rocks, and then there's like a naked girl on the rocks. I like to do something that says something poetic and romantic and describes the kind of world I want to live in. My skill level is nowhere near where I want it to be. I want to be doing things like Renoir and Bouguereau, who I'm in love with Bouguereau, all his Venuses and Cupids. But it's fun. So I paint, I do the podcast, and I do music, which we said. And there's music on Spotify and Amazon Music and wherever else, but Apple and things. If you just put the Dean with the exclamation mark, you'd find it. But again, all the links are on booksboys.com. And what I did was I took 12 songs out of I'd made over 200 songs, and most of them are garbage, but I found 12, good ones. And we put those out. And then I also made some songs with PJ. So I took, a dozen of those. And there's an album of just me, and there's an album of me and PJ. So those are like the three parts of my personality: the books, the music, and the podcast. There's not much to say about where I'm from. Like, I'm from Northern Ireland, so it's not really anything very exciting. But if you don't know, like, it's kind of interesting, because Northern Ireland is physically in Ireland, politically in the UK, and culturally, in both, because it kind of shares that culture from both of them throughout its history. and it has had a troubled history. So it's kind of interesting. But I also think it's kind of a garbage place, and I want to go somewhere better.
So currently, are you in US?
No, I'm in Northern Ireland.
Okay. So exactly from where are you connecting with me?
From where? What? Sorry.
From where are you connecting with me? From US or anywhere else?
No. So I'm in Northern Ireland, which is in the UK, and
Okay.
physically, as I say, physically in Ireland.
Okay. I'm very bad in geography. That's fine.
So
I asked you.
it's in Europe,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So
But I want to move
Ireland.
I want to move to Spain eventually.
Okay. So you are between Europe and America on an island.
Well, no, we're just with Europe. We're not near America. We're just on the west of Europe.
Okay. Okay. So I have one question regarding your paintings. So do you saw something and just painting or just paint your imaginations? Which kind of painting you
Mm.
really?
So I think a little bit of both, because I like to imagine the scene, but I couldn't draw, I couldn't draw a person without seeing a model. Or no, obviously I don't have I paint a lot at home. I don't have a model at home. I can just look, find photographs, but I need to have something to draw the person from. And that's the main focus of the piece. And then with the landscapes and the sceneries and things, then I can make that up from my imagination. And I can put a few little less detailed people in the background or whatever, but the main focus of the painting, the main kind of model, I need to take that from something. I need to copy that from something, from a model or something.
Can you show us your paintings?
Yeah, I guess I can. I gotta bring my laptop with me here, so let's see how we do this. Okay, I think I can do this. I've got all these cables because and I'm tangled in them. You'll notice I'm wearing a headset, but the head's turned up because I use a separate microphone, so the headset's just for audio. So now I'm carrying a lot of things with me. I think I can do this, but I have to find good ones, I think. Let's see what we can do. So
Oh,
we have that one, which is the one I mentioned a moment ago.
okay.
And on the wall behind me, we have a big one of a girl on the beach. I have some more. Let's have a look. I have this one here, which is just a nude. And I'll see if I can find one more. Oh, there's one up there. Above my bookcase, there's a girl at a restaurant. And here we have a girl in a bedroom, in a boudoir. So
Okay. So your last third one is like green color. The girl is lying, I think. So what the painting is?
in fact, there's
really
millions on there. There's loads. But
Oh my God. So there's behind every painting there is a unique story.
no.
just-
Most of them is just I did based on a live model or a photo, and then I just wanted to find a romantic setting to put them in. And as you saw, the green one, there's no setting. I had this idea to do a piece of 3 paintings that didn't have a background, that was just the model. And I did them all, instead of using skin color, I did a green one and a purple one and a red one. Because I thought, just to try something different, just have a plain background and then a single color model, just to try like a different style, just for those 3 pieces. But normally I like to make them just a normal person in a sort of romanticized setting.
So your favorite artwork? Do you have any favorite artwork like Picasso painting?
Yes, I mean I like Renoir and I like Bouguereau. If you don't know, I'll go back downstairs because I have a large Bouguereau piece on the wall actually, and I can show you. I love Bouchereau because he does a lot of cupids and a lot of Venuses and very romanticized. So let me see. I've got a massive Bouchereau above the fireplace here. So this is the kind of thing I like.
Okay. So what the painting is really says about? What do you think?
I don't know. I like life and I like people and I like the human body, but I like really romanticized settings. The Venus and the Cupids are out in a meadow somewhere there. They're skipping around, you know, in the outdoors. I don't like industrial settings. I don't like to put people with a lot of buildings and cities in the background. You know, outside should be nature. I don't like things in cities really.
So I have one question about your chair. So like a flower in background. So is there any story behind your chair you buy or
The chair
what?
was a gift actually, but the flowers. I mean, the flowers didn't come with the chair. I put those there. So what happened was I went to a little shop called This and That, and it just sold random little things. And I bought some incense sticks, and then I saw these flowers, and I thought, you know, those are nice, but what would I possibly do with those? But I wanted them. So I bought the flowers and I brought them home, and I was trying to put them around the banister on the stairs, but then it was twisting too much and it wasn't flexible enough. And I thought, what am I going to do with these flowers now that I've bought them? So in the end, they just were the right length to just go around the chair. So they just went on the
Yeah,
chair.
it
But my other option was to record from the chaise longue and just, you know, recline and repose throughout the episode. But I like
your chair
old fashioned things, and I like
really
cute things, and I like romantic things. You know.
yeah, you are really creative man. Your chair really looks very beautiful.
Do you know what else I have here in my bedroom? I have this mannequin beside the. Now at the moment he's boring. At the moment he's just wearing a coat. But sometimes I
Okay.
dress him up, and sometimes he's wearing a full suit with a top hat and shoes and everything underneath, and sometimes he's wearing something else, a face mask and whatever. But I like to just dress the mannequin up sometimes.
It's a nice thing. So actually I saw your name on your website only. So what is your full name? Is it only Dean or
Yeah, so I just
you
use
have
Dean or the Dean on the podcast. Yeah,
hmm,
and that's what I use for my
because
music as well. It's the Dean with an exclamation mark, and you'll find me in Apple for the podcast, for music, for the art as well on Instagram, or my art's available for sale on Etsy. Um, that's the only name I've gone with. Yeah, of course you'll know because you'll not know. We were speaking on Instagram. We weren't speaking on Facebook. I use a completely different name on fake name on Facebook so that no one can ever find me there because I don't like
we are
social media.
you are the first one to correct on Instagram I connected to because I rarely use Facebook, but due to podcast I recently
Well,
used.
yeah, I have a second Instagram just for my art, and then we have the Books Boys Instagram. But my Facebook, I don't use it for that, so it's just it's got a fake name.
Okay. Okay, so it is a nice session with you. Thank you, Dean, for connecting with me.
No
Thank you so
worries, it's been
much.
fun.
Thank you. I'm honored connecting with you.
No, it's been great. I really enjoyed this. So thanks for having me on.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Have a good afternoon. Alfred says bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.